Have you ever wished you could eavesdrop on a conversation with a millionaire? My name is Michelle Thompson. I'm a retired project controls engineer and business professor, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in this podcast. I get to ask the questions that everyone else wishes they could. I'm going to find out exactly how they were able to build their empires through automation and outsourcing. And I'm going to break it down in a way that helps you build your business to run on autopilot. Don't miss out on Automate to Dominate. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Automate to Dominate. Today, we have Wendy Nicole Anderson, and I am super excited to have her on the show because she is the queen of automation. She's a mompreneur that left corporate America in March of 2015, loves rafting, rappelling, ziplining. This girl's up for all of it. Just got back from Costa Rica. And what her zone of genius is helping your clients have an amazing experience through systems and automation. So I wanted to bring her on the show to see if we could pick her brain and find out things that she does in her business to help her clients out and see if maybe we could impart some of that wisdom into your guys' business on the show. Wendy, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So you get hit up all the time for automation. What are probably the top three things that your clients come to you for help for?
So the main thing is, I'll start from the beginning. I'm a business system strategist, and I teach other service-based entrepreneurs how to streamline and automate their business systems so that they can escape burnout, work with the right clients, not just anyone who has money, and increase their profits and saving time. So one of the main reasons why people come to me is that they realize that they don't have the bandwidth to manage the demand for their services. A lot of people hold back because, one, they don't know how to ask for the sale. They ask me about that. They're not sure about their positioning. Then once the inquiries come in, they realize, well, I don't have anything in my back office to manage my fulfillment of these services. And so a lot of it, they want help with their onboarding process. They don't know what to write, what goes in when a client inquires. They don't know what to send out once the client hires them. They're not really sure about how to manage the day-to-day fulfillment for their services. So they want to automate their fulfillment. They want to automate their increase. They want to automate the increase so that they can have qualified leads versus just waking up to 10 or 15 different inquiries that may not fit the bill. And then once the person inquires about the services and paid, they don't really know what needs to happen to onboard the client so that they can properly set the expectations for the professional relationship. That's on one spectrum. The other spectrum is a lot of my clients are already oddly 6- and 7-figure earners. They exceeded what they can take on with one-on-one clients, and they're trying to figure out how can I scale my expertise so I can reach more people and not have to spread myself thin. So they don't know how to leverage their IP.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So tell us how you got to this place, right? Because you started in corporate America, and now you're working from home, traveling the world. So tell us how that happened and how did you morph into this niche?
So honestly, I just wanted to be a life coach initially. 10 years ago, I guess around 2009, someone had given me a book written by Valerie Burton, and I started reading. And in college, they don't teach you about personal development. Well, I got myself in a weird situation in my early 20s, and I didn't want to get a public job because I was basically hiding from an abusive situation. And at that time, I was like, well, how can I make money and not be found out by this predator? And then I got presented with network marketing. Let me just be all the way honest. And when I went into network marketing at that time, it was prepaid legal services. My mentors introduced personal development. And when I started reading the personal development, I felt at home. I said, I'm not crazy. There's a whole community of people who think and believe the same things. I had no idea I could make a career out of this. And when I started thinking about becoming a life coach, I had tried all the other companies to get my certification through, but I didn't really like their values, their messaging, their positioning. And then God was like, you've been reading Valerie Burton for years, just go find her. Ironically, she had a coaching certification program. At the time, I didn't know that her receptionist was her mother. And she was like, yeah, we have a program that's going to be launching in 6 months. You ought to join. The fee is this. I paid my deposit. I got started. Throughout that time, and all of that triggered because I had been talking to my dad about starting a personal development company. He had explained to me he would give me the money to get started, but over time he got sick and died. And it was like a week before my father was, he expired, he was on his deathbed. I just had like an epiphany. And I was 28 at the time. I'm 38 now, so 10 years ago. And I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to do all of these things. And I basically had an effort moment. And I talk about my effort moment with a lot of people. I went to go get a passport. And I was like, I want to travel the world, but I can't because I can't go nowhere because I have no passport. And then I said to myself, I want to start a personal development company, but I can't start that either because I don't even have an LLC. So within a few months of that, I got my passport and I formed my LLC. Well, just like with anything, once I got my coaching certification, I didn't really understand or know anything about business. So then I was like, and the coaching thing kind of confused me. And then I realized I'm not warm and fuzzy. I don't want to talk to you guys about your feelings. I'm a fixer. I'm more so naturally a consultant. So as I started going through the process of trying to build this thing, and I would pay $5,000 here, $2,100 here, I did not like my experience when I made that kind of money. And I said, when I paid that kind of money, and I was like, there has to be, excuse me, there has to be a better way. So as I realized no one could really help me build a business the way I wanted to, I started teaching myself. And this business of mine was really an accident. When people started scheduling a time to talk to me, they were like, we're really impressed with this whole process of how we inquire with you and how you work with us. Who built your systems? Who? I said, I built them. Then people started coming to me and they said, well, can you build it for me? And I'm like, really? And then I realized I enjoyed it. So it was just kind of like something that happened with trial and error, but it really was birthed out of my frustration and what I felt like I deserved to receive when I made an investment. That's one part. How I got to full-time entrepreneur is I've always had these whiteboards in my home office or around the house for years, probably 20 years. And I had put a quit date on my board. And I was frustrated, overwhelmed. I was a new mother, trying to breastfeed, trying to make ends meet and grow this business. I remember pacing the floor and I look at the quit date and I was like, how in the world am I going to make this happen? And then I had a whole conversation with myself. I was like, Wendy, what would be the difference if you went to work tomorrow and they fired you? Because I had a performance-based position. I was assistant director of admissions for a major for-profit college. I was like, what's the difference in between you getting laid off or fired? Because I had gotten laid off a year and a half prior to that. I was like, you quitting isn't any different. So the next day I left and I called my kid's dad and I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. I don't want you to be surprised. To my amazement, he supported it. He was like, if you think you can make this work, I will support it. And so I quit. And over time, I figured out different systems, processes that I needed to have in place to manage my home life, motherhood, self-care, and fulfillment for my clients. So I like to be honest with people. I had about $20,000 in the bank. So no, I just didn't quit willy-nilly. I had 20 grand. And I also had almost 15, 20 years of corporate sales, in my back pocket. So I'm used to selling 80,000 plus dollar systems for other people. So I was like, oh, if I can sell for them, I can sell for me. So I try to tell people, if you're not a go-getter, if you don't have discipline, don't just quit cold turkey. But mind you, I did not have a plan. I quit because my mindset was, I'm smart, I can do the work, but I don't have the physical capability to do it because I'm already overextended because I'm a full-time worker and I'm trying to still figure out this whole motherhood situation. And I'm like in my early 30s. So something has to give. I'm not going to give the kid up, and I'm not going to give up my dream of entrepreneurship. So the job has to go.
Okay. So, it'd be great if we could give the kids back. No, I'm just kidding. No. But seriously, what systems have you put in place? Like, so many of our listeners are mompreneurs too, right? And how have you found systems to help you with, family, home life, self-care, and
Yeah.
run the business? Talk to me about those systems.
So the number one system I use, to be honest, and it's going to really hurt a lot of people's feelings, is the Google Calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it's not real. It doesn't exist. So like if I pull up my calendar now to just kind of tell you what's on there. So like one of my systems is I'm wrangling the children all weekend long. I have a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old now. They're great kids, but they're children. I do not take any client calls on Monday. I'm overwhelmed. I have about 30 private clients right now. I prefer to wake up on Monday morning and not have to talk to anybody. I'd rather just respond to the increase that I have in my project management system. So like my day starts at 8:00. My children are homeschooled. I took them out of public school. So from 8 a.m. until 9:30, I have a session with them. At 10:00 is when I actually start my client work for the day. I work from 10 until 5. I'm supposed to actually work out in that 9:30 segment to 10:00. I don't always work out, but it's on my calendar. At 5:00, I resume homeschooling from 5 until 6:30. Now, my children are doing activities on their own throughout the day, but the 8 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. and then the 5:00 until 6:30 p.m., that's when I'm actually sitting in the floor, physically doing things with them so that they get that exchange that they need. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are the days that I have client interfacing days, meaning that I will take, it doesn't matter if a person wants to inquire about my services and or they have paid me for my services, I'm going to conduct those meetings through 10 to 5. On Thursdays, I don't talk to anyone at all. I call it my batch day. People are always asking me, well, how are you so consistent? How is it that you show up on social media every day? Well, on Thursdays, if I need to make a new offer, if I need to fix my website, if I need to batch content for my email marketing, my content marketing, and schedule it into the appropriate channels, if I need to make sure that I meet my revenue goal for the week, and I need to follow up, call people, email them, DM them, whatever I have to do so that by Friday, close of business, I've hit my revenue goal for the week. All of that stuff gets done on Thursday. So whatever I need to make sure that my business hits my revenue goal, whether it's administrative, sales, or just having some conversations, it happens on Thursdays. Fridays, I try to be off work by 3:00, meaning that's the last time of the day that I'm going to take a call with anyone who has either inquired or paid me, because before I close out the work week, I'm going to go back and to respond to anyone else that has a lingering need to be addressed. Because when the weekend comes, I need to be off. And so like, even if it's throughout the week, I got to take the kids to the doctor, or I need to go get my hair done or something, it gets scheduled onto my calendar between 10 to 5. I've learned that outside of 5:00, me trying to do any kind of business, it makes my personal life chaotic. So if it's not scheduled, it doesn't happen. The only time I could do a wild card of anything that's personally related outside of business, it has to be crammed into the weekend.
So it sounds like it's not just Google Calendar, but it's also boundaries, which we as
Yes.
women aren't so good at setting and keeping our boundaries. So I think that's a huge golden nugget and lesson right there. How are you? You talked a little bit about on your website about sifting through. In essence, I'll put it in my words, the tire kickers, to make sure that only the people that get to you are the people who you really want to talk to and who really need to talk to you. What systems do you have in place for that?
So that's acuity. So I'll walk you through the process and I'll walk you through the psychology of it. So I always ask my clients, what do you need to know in order to best service your client? So you want to ask open-ended structured questions to help you to better understand what is their situation. You need to know what even triggered somebody to even want to talk to you in the first place. Step one. So you want to, on your intake form. So if you go to my website, scroll to the bottom, there are specific questions that I ask because I need to know what's your situation. I need to know what your goals are. If their goals are not anything that my services can help them with, then it's null and void for me. The third is I want to know the gap. The gap is, what is the reasons why the person has not been able to reach the goal up until this point? Like, what have you tried? Because normally when people are looking for help, they already have it in their mind what will make sense to them. They may not be able to articulate it, but they know what they want. And then I want to know what their sense of urgency is. If I don't have that information, I can't decipher if I have something inside of my arsenal that can help you get what you need or you want. Now, even if the bottom of the form, it does tell people what my investment is. I don't care if they say yes or no. I feel like if you take the time to fill my form out, I have time to talk to you. Even if you tell me that you can't afford my fee, because I'm a salesperson, I'm going to find something that you need right now to help, or at least give you enough information to make an informed decision so that when your budget does align with my services, you will be back. But if I have somebody in my DM on social media constantly asking me 1,000 questions, but they won't take the time to respectfully go book a time to talk to me, I disregard any additional correspondence with them because I find that to be disrespectful. You're not serious. Because if I need something and you have availability to talk to me and it's at no charge, I'm going to at least come talk to you.
So when you say acuity, just so all of our listeners know, that's your calendar scheduling device, correct?
Yeah. So, because I don't like the whole back and forth of when are you available. I don't even know when I'm available. I woke up this morning to 3 new client requests. My schedule can be open in 1 second, and I can send an email out to promote an offer, and it can be booked out in a matter of another additional second. So what I mean is, when they go to my website, there is a video and it says, click here to book a profit clarity call. I think that's what it's called. When they click on it, they get to pick the date and time based on their availability, and then based on my availability when they can talk. I ask the preliminary questions so that I can understand. I don't want to walk into a meeting unprepared. I don't want you just to book a time to talk to me and then I'm holding the phone. And a lot of times when I get on the phone with someone, I am not going to regurgitate what they sent to me. That's a waste of their time. Normally, when I get on the phone with them, I just, I may ask additional questions that I need clarity on so I can know if or how I can support them. And I just give them some time to really think through their entire situation. Sometimes people think they need help and they really don't. And I'm okay about not getting a sale. I need it to be the right fit. Once they book a time to talk to me, I have a Zap set up, meaning that when you go and book a time to talk to me, I have a Zap set up in Zapier where I take your name and email. Your name and email goes into a funnel inside of ConvertKit, my email marketing system, so it can further set the expectations. So on the form too, it says at the top of the form, it specifically addresses the type of client that I want to work with. And that works like a charm because a lot of people will get the link and say, well, Wendy, I don't get qualified to work with you. Okay, great. Come back to me when you're ready. That eliminates just random people booking. That's step one. Then a lot of people get turned off or overwhelmed by the questions. I like to work with intellect. If you don't want to sit down and think through what I'm asking you, then we're going to have a hard time working with one another. The third thing is sometimes a person may book 3 days later, 6 days later, or like now it's the holiday season. So I booked it off for up to January. A lot of times people don't realize when people are inquiring about your services, they have an immediate need. So if they don't get access to a solution right away, or if they're not reminded that you can help them in the capacity that they need, they just move on to the next thing that's going to put out the fire right away. So you want to put them into a funnel to where, one, you want to set the expectations for the call, and I let them know what to expect when we do speak for this complimentary session. Then within that funnel, people can love you, like you, follow you, click all your stuff on social media, but they still don't know who you are, what you do, and how and why. So that funnel needs to be the introduction of all of that.
So when you say funnel, is that a web page or is it a series of emails that's dripping out to them?
It's a series of emails that are dripping out to them. So the Zap takes their name and email, puts them into my email platform of choice, which is ConvertKit.
Right.
They get an email immediately once the inquiry comes in. Hi, here's what to expect in your call. By the way, I spent a lot of time in my Facebook group. Click the link to join. And then the next day, I give them a timeline of who I am and what I do. The next day after that, I give them a free training because I do automation. The next day after that, I start dripping out case studies because I need people not to have an unrealistic expectation of what it's going to be like to work with me, because I don't want you to hire me and think you own me and want some kind of random result like clockwork. I need them to see the progression of how my clients hired me and they had their first $20,000 month. I don't want people to think it's some pie in the sky thing. There was work that was done, but it's possible. By the time people get on the phone with me, especially if it's like 3-4 days later, Wendy, I don't really care what you want to talk to me about today. How much is it going to cost me to hire you? Because my email has already addressed a lot of the things I know that they're going to ask me. And so a lot of times when people hire me, they get overwhelmed. I don't want to do all of that, Wendy, but that just seems like a lot of work. It is a lot of work initially, but do you want your time back? Do you want to have to explain all of this to every single person that you speak to? Or do you want to let me help you set it up to where you free up some time to where you're working with the right clients? Because again, people can have money. I don't care about money. I need to know, do our personalities vibe? Do we have the same value system? I love a client that's going to be a challenge, because I started doing this because I like to learn. And if a client has a sticky situation and it causes me to use my brain, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. And that you just dropped so much gold that I just want to recap for everybody just to make sure, because what you talked about is really simple. It's not difficult, but so many people get so caught up in the hair of it all, right? That they can't seem to, get it from start to finish. Okay, guys, this is really simple. Find yourself a calendar scheduling tool. Okay. She uses Acuity. I use Schedule Once, doesn't matter. Inside of there, it's like $15 a month. It's cheap, right? Inside of there, you put your questions in there so that you are already prepped for your meeting. You go to your Google Calendar and guess what? You're prepped for your meeting, because inside of there are all the answers to what you're about to meet with that client for, so that you can help them and provide value, and you're not spending your time digging around trying to find the information that they could have already told you from that form. Okay, so that's step one, set up Acuity. Then Zapier. If you guys don't know Zapier, it is the greatest thing ever, right? And it's free for like, I don't know,
the first 5 zaps.
Okay.
Free up until the first 5 zaps. Any other zaps, depending upon your needs, it's about $20 a month. But and to speak about what Zap is for non-techie people is real simple. Zapier basically lets all your platforms talk to one another. That's the best way I can explain it. People like me and you, we go in there and we code it so it does what we need it to do. Now, sometimes if there's an action in Zapier that you need and it's not already preset, The trick is you can email Zapier and ask their engineers to set up specific logic. The problem with that is most people don't understand logic and they don't know what to ask. And so they just feel like Zapier is not worthwhile, but you have to know how to maneuver the system.
Yeah, and there's a ton of Zaps that are like already set up. And so basically all a Zap is it's grabbing information from one application and putting it into another application for you without a human having to touch it. So think of it as just data transfer, right? To kick off another process, right? So you set up a Zap, so it goes to ConvertKit, and it doesn't matter. Zapier is going to work for all of them, right? It doesn't matter if you use MailChimp, ConvertKit, Drip. I'm probably missing a ton of the big ones, but you guys get the idea, right? And then what she did is brilliant, right? She sets it inside of an email campaign that's basically 5 series that's going to drip content on them. The first one is, who the heck is Wendy, and how are we going to, what can you expect from this call? The second one is boundaries, right? Almost, right? This is what it's like to work with me. Don't think that you're going to just, come over and run over my life, right? Which is really, really, which is great because people appreciate that. Like they want to know what is, what the boundaries are, right? If you don't tell them, how are they going to know, right? Then the third and fourth one is basically case studies explaining, hey, this is a little bit more of what it's like. These are real live clients, and and this is how it's going to work. And then I'm sorry, what was the fifth one again?
And then the fifth one is more so I'm giving value, like I'm giving trainings that they need access to, because I'm willing to show anything to people. It just is overwhelming. And then I've chunked out a lot of information to them in this funnel. But then my last email is I'll ask them, I'll give you 5 minutes to answer your question. I always respond back to them via video and a response, because I've given them a lot. I don't want them just consuming. I want them to comprehend, because if they don't comprehend, they won't apply, they won't get a result. But and then at the end of the video, I invite them to work with me in my 90-minute call for a specific fee, and that converts really well. So it feels like they're getting to know me. I'm asking them or presenting things to them that they haven't considered. They don't feel like the information is useless. Now, I do have a call to action on each email where I'll say, buy this thing if your situation is X, while they're waiting, because a lot of times they'll just hire me before we talk. And I'm like, well, hell, she hired me, so I can just get rid of this call and we get it going. But basically
But that's genius, right? Because people know, like, and trust you. You're telling them who their exact client is, and you're telling them who your ideal client is, and then you're telling them, okay, these are the next steps. And so, people need that, and you're doing it automated, right? You did it once. It was a ton of work in the beginning, which automation always is. But then it's a beautiful thing because it just runs on autopilot, right?
Because people know what to expect when they get from me. And what people have to understand, I have probably like 650 people in my Facebook community. It's not as large as other people, but even like today, like it's amazing when people just reach out to me and say, hey, I need you. I want to talk to you. I've never interacted with them. But what people have to understand, even if somebody inquires to talk to you, they're still on the fence. They don't know who you are. They don't know what your true intentions. There are so many people in the online space that say one thing and do another.
Yeah.
I just want people to know I'm consistent. You're going to get what you pay for or what you're inquiring for. If in the event I'm not the best person, I have other people I can send to you that can help, but I'm not just going to take your money for the sake of I took your money, because I've been there. I paid money and did not get what I paid for, or I paid money and they didn't deliver and they were already focused on the upsell. That feels icky. Yep. And a lot of people don't have a lot of disposable income, even though we may make a lot of money. And so I just want people to know that there's still good people in the online space that mean well. And I want to attract other good people who are morally centered. And I think a lot of times, as I see it in the online space, leaders get frustrated when people inquire and ask a ton of questions. And I even had to humble myself and say, if they knew, they wouldn't ask you, and then you wouldn't have business. So I'm more than willing to educate, and I think that's the key. Give your people enough information to make an informed decision. And that's what the funnel was for. And then if you repeat the same thing to them in multiple facets, then that's where the know, like, and trust factor is reinforced. By the time they talk to you or decide to pay, they feel confident that if I give Wendy $12 or $3,500, she's not going to run off with my money and go to the beach, you know.
Right. Yeah. And guys, I want to challenge you, right? Because so many times we consume information, and then we never do anything. So Wendy gave you 3 super simple steps. I want you to get your Google Calendar and I want you to write a due date for each one of those, right? Mm-hmm. So in 1 week, have your calendar schedule set up. Mm-hmm. Next week, figure out how to set up the Zap, or next week, set up the email, right? Then 3rd week, work on your email sequencing and then go back and connect the Zap to the, from the, yep, I have such a hard time with words sometimes. It's all right.
Okay. It's okay.
The calendar schedule to the email drip system, your funnel, what you're calling a funnel. And guys, if you could just do that, you would have the system set up in 3 weeks. If you set aside 1 hour every week, just 1 hour, and then now work on your drip system, those 5 emails that Wendy just told you about that are super, super powerful. And, you know, in 8 hours, right? Figure it takes an hour an email. In 8 hours, you've just automated something and given yourself hours and hours of your life back because you're not prepping for meetings. You're not sifting through stuff. People are just showing up in your calendar because they know exactly what's expected because you've already told them. So super, super powerful. Awesome, awesome stuff, Wendy.
No problem.
So I always ask everybody this on every call. If you were at a Christmas party and you ran into a new entrepreneur and you had just one book that you could gift them that would help them in their entrepreneurial journey, what would that book be?
So you asked me a question that stumps me, and I tend to like to have an answer.
Well, there's so many good books.
So The Art of War, I can't remember the name of the writer, but I enjoy that the most. My coach is Rachel Rogers, and so she has a new book coming out called We Should All Be Millionaires. And so I pre-ordered a lot of those books, and I'm going to be giving them out to my clients. But I would say to anyone, if you're new in business and you're struggling in a specific area, then find a book or resources that addresses that specific theme so that you can gain a different perspective. I want to put a twist on it. We all have our own method to the madness of how we gain success. Mine is systems, processes, and automation. The next entrepreneur may think that it's branding, marketing, and positioning. Here's the answer. It's all of those are relative and all of those are correct, but it's your job to figure out what makes sense to you and to figure out how to make it work for yourself. You do need a little bit of everything, but everyone is going to have a strong suit in how they decide to lead with how they show up in this world. So stop looking for the perfect solution. It doesn't exist.
Right.
You have to think about, what are my strengths? What allows me the most flexibility? What's going to resonate the most with my audience? And you lead with that.
Yeah, it's it's your zone of genius, right? What comes so naturally to you that other people go, how the heck did you do that? And it's just automatic for you, right? And I tell people all this all the time, do what you do best and then outsource the rest, whether it's automation, delegation, whatever it is, focus in your zone of genius and then figure out the other pieces of the puzzle that you need to put together. Cause you're right. We need all those parts, right? And get them off your plate. And automation is a great way to do that. So Wendy, how the heck can people get a hold of you if they're like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need for my business. I need Wendy to do this for me.
Well, you guys can always just go to wendynicoleanderson.com. I would love to start with a 30-minute complimentary session so I can understand your needs and tell you how I can best support you. I'm always on social media. I have a Facebook group. You can also find it on my website. It's called Rebel Queen. So you can either join my Facebook group and be a lurker and then hang out with us, or you can just go to my website and book a time to speak with me, because a lot of it is just you guys need strategy. You need insights on what's possible for you. And I enjoy talking with you guys about that.
Awesome. I love it so much. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please take the time, go to Wendy's website and schedule a call with her. She has been just a treasure trove of golden nuggets here today. And so, Wendy, thanks so much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in to the Automate to Dominate podcast at www.awesomeoutsourcing.com/podcast. My name is Michelle Thompson. Hey guys, if you absolutely love this show, I would greatly appreciate it if you would head on over to iTunes, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star written review. That would be amazing. And as always, if you guys know somebody who should be listening to this podcast, please don't keep it all to yourself. Share it with your friends.